While doing this pranayama, make sure that your physical body is totally relaxed, mind is focused on the breath, not wandering anywhere. Doing this correctly, consistently will quieten your mind. So straight on cameras, let's practice this a few times. Now, with a quietened mind, one should do Nididhyasanam. Upasana Dhyanam done after studying Vedanta Shastras. The mind focused on the supreme reality, Brahma Tattvam, by recollecting key Upanishad mantras pointing to Brahman and reiterating the already understood meanings of these key Upanishad mantras. The central message of these Upanishad mantras being that our own true nature, Atman, is not different from Brahman, the supreme reality. Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha, to be reiterated during Nididhyasanam, so that this central message, key message of Upanishads, is totally internalized, resulting in transformation of the individual from Jiva Bhava to Brahma Bhava. So, process of converting knowledge or information into transformation is Nididhyasanam. Upanishad itself says, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma Jalaniti Shanta Upasita. Shanta Upasita. So, to begin with, quieten your mind. Shanta Upasita. Do Upasana, Nididhyasanam on Brahman. As what? Idam Sarvam Khalu Brahma Eva. Verily, all around us, the only absolute reality, only absolutely real principle is Brahma Tattvam. Though not comprehensible by our sense organs or mind, but by systematic study of Vedanta Shastras, we are established this doubtless knowledge that there is an absolute reality that is all pervading. And Brahman is called absolute reality because it is absolute in itself. It is independent of any other entity and of the nature of absolute existence, absolute consciousness, absolute bliss. Satchit Ananda Swarupam. And from this absolute reality, Satchidananda Swarupam Brahma Tattvam emerges the seemingly real, relatively real universe. Remember, the world, the events that happen around us, which are cognized by our sense organs and mind, are all only matter principles. They don't have existence of their own. They borrow existence from Brahman, manifest themselves, are sustained for some period of time, and then they get resolved into fundamental matter. Since the universe, the world doesn't have any existence of its own, it is being called as being relatively real, seemingly real, actually unreal. And since Brahman is a fundamental substratum for the universe to undergo creation, sustenance, dissolution, universe borrows existence from Brahman and goes through Srishti, Sthiti, Layam. Brahman is here is called as Tat Jalan. Tat Jalan means Tat, that supreme principle, Brahma Tattvam, from which Jalan, this Jagat undergoes Srishti, Sthiti, Layam. So also our own physical body, sense organs, mind, thoughts are all matter principles. They don't have any existence of their own. They borrow existence from Brahman, and they also manifest themselves, are sustained for some period of time, and then get resolved into fundamental matter. This Maya Tattvam. And so, by pointing out that both the world, the events that happen around us, including our own physical body and whatever thoughts arise in our mind, by pointing out that they are all only matter principles, not having any existence on their own, pointing out that they are actually unreal. Upanishad is conveying a very important message. What is the message? The message is that just like unreal things, things that don't have any existence, things that do not exist, cannot create any impressions on our mind, cannot impact our minds. So also through this jnanam, it is called Advaita Jnanam, that Brahman alone is absolutely real, rest are all unreal. One should learn not to get perturbed or disturbed by anything happening around us, including whatever may be happening to our physical body, whatever thoughts may be arising in our mind. One should learn to be unperturbed, undisturbed through this Advaita Jnanam. And people who do not have this Jnanam, who are Ajnanis, ignorant people, treating all things happening around them as being absolutely real, including whatever happens to the physical body, whatever thoughts arise in their mind, attaching them absolute importance, get connected with them emotionally, and are constantly subject to mental upheaval, ups and downs, because neither the world, events around us, nor will our own thoughts, as well as our physical body, will always be in one direction, will never ever be always as per our expectations or only favorable to us. And more often than not, when things do not happen as per one's expectations, things are not favorable, the ignorant people, jnanis, connecting with them, are thrown into mental upheaval and subject to sorrow, dejection, and depression, and they are unable to recover themselves from that. And never ever will they be established in permanent peace. Why? Because of ignorance, avidya, attaching importance to the world and all the events as well as their own thoughts. So, Upanishad is conveying this message that detach yourself emotionally from everything around, become a witness. Sakshi cheta kebalo nirgunascha. And once you separate yourself mentally from everything around, you will never ever be disturbed from anything happening around. This is the only way for one to be established in permanent peace. Remember, never ever will there be an ideal situation where and when everything will happen as per our expectations or will only be favorable to us, because they're all bound by the law of karma. More importantly, our own prarabdha karma. And so, through this jnanam alone, separating oneself from everything around, one can be established in permanent peace. There is no other way. Nanya pantha Ajana Yudyate. So proclaim even the Veda mantras. So, what is the message of the Upanishads? It says that this human birth is a great opportunity provided to us, and one should make every effort, do all the sadhanas, Sravanam, and attain this Advaita Jnanam to be established in permanent peace. Now, to further reiterate the all-pervading nature of Brahma Tattvam, let's recollect another key Upanishad mantra pointing to the all-pervading nature of Brahman. Brahmaivedam amritam purastat Brahma paschat Brahma dakshinataschottarena adhaschordham cha prasritam Brahmaivedam vishwamidam varishtam idam vishwam Brahma eva varishtam. In this universe, Brahman alone is the greatest, most glorious, all-pervading, absolute reality, Chidananda Rupam Brahma Tattvam. And importantly, of the nature of immortality. Remember, Brahma Vedam Amritam Purastat, ever existent, never subject to creation, never undergoes any change, ever pure, never can be subject to decay or destruction. This Brahma Tattvam, Satchidananda Swarupam, Brahman is in front of us, behind us, to our right, left, below, above, and also inside and outside each one of us. Antar Bahishcha Tatsarvam Yapya Narayana Sthitaha. So if this Brahman absolute reality, Chidananda Swarupam is present within each of us, how do we recognize, how do we know, how do we understand, and why should we make an attempt to understand? Remember, Brahman is the nature of Ananda Swarupam, absolute bliss. And for a person who knows and understands that this supreme reality, Brahman, is verily present within oneself and owns up to it as one's own true nature, such a person is established in absolute bliss. Upanishads point out that the same Brahman, absolute reality that is all pervading, is also present within each of us, now called as Atman. Atman also is Satchit Ananda Swarupam. Brahman also is Satchit Ananda Swarupam. And by focusing on any of the three natural aspects, Swarupa Lakshanam of Atman, Sat Swarupam, Chit Swarupam, or Ananda Swarupam, with a mind that is quietened, looking inward, because you're trying to discover the Atman within oneself, carefully analyzing different aspects of the functioning of the physical body and the mind, including how does the mind sometimes experience happiness. By carefully analyzing the help of Upanishad mantras and Shastras, one will be able to understand verily that this supreme reality, Brahman, is present within oneself. So, out of the three natural aspects, Swarupa Lakshanam of Atman, let us focus on Ananda Swarupam. From Satchit Ananda Swarupam, let's focus on Ananda Swarupam. Anandam, absolute bliss, happiness. So, while ignorant people think that they derive happiness from the world when their desires are fulfilled or they acquire something, with the help of Shastras, if you carefully analyze, you understand that the world, the events, the object, the world are neither a source of happiness nor a source of sorrow. So, how does one get happiness when someone acquires things that they are expecting or they are desired or something happens as per their expectations? Shastras point out that whenever there are some desires in the mind, expecting something to happen, wanting to acquire something, the mind is in a disturbed state. It is not calm. And when that particular thing that has been desired for, that particular expectation has been fulfilled for a brief period of time, the mind attains quietude. So earlier, when the mind was disturbed due to the desires, the mind is unable to reflect the infinite anandam, the infinite bliss that is there within oneself. Just like a mirror covered with dust, it cannot reflect light. The mind, which is overcome with any desire or anxiety or sorrow will not be able to reflect the happiness, bliss that is already present within, that is infinite in nature. It is not there in the external world. It is present within oneself, but unable to reflect in the mind due to the mind being disturbed. And when the particular desire is fulfilled or the object of desire is acquired for a brief period of time, the mind attains quietude, calmness. And just like a mirror which is clean and can reflect the light very clearly, the same mind which was disturbed earlier, which is now quietened, is able to reflect the absolute happiness, infinite anandam, paramanandam present within, and the mind experiences happiness. So, where is the source of happiness? It is not in the external world, it is not in the objects, it is present within us. Atma Tattvam, Ananda Swarupam, that is present within each of us. So recollect the Upanishad mantra that points to the supreme reality, Brahman, as Ananda Swarupam, present within each and every one of us. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidvan nabibheti kutascha neti. So that supreme principle, Brahma Tattvam, Ito vacho nivartante, which cannot be explained through words. Aprapya manasasaha cannot be comprehended with the mind as an object because Brahman is not an object. Anandam Brahmano Vidwan. Vidwan means for a person who knows that Brahman is the nature of Ananda Swarupam. Same Brahman is all pervading, is also present within each of one of us. Atman. Atman also is Ananda Swarupam. Ananda Atma. So for a person who attains this knowledge, Anandam Brahmano Vidvan Nabibheti Kutaschaneti, is never ever subject to any more fear from any object. So fear totally disappears in the mind of an Atmajnani, Brahmajnani. And so ever established, fearlessness means what? Ever established in peace and happiness, absolute bliss. And a person who attains this Atmajnanam, Brahmajnanam, knowing that I'm ever complete because of Brahman being Ananda Swarupam. And the nature of Anandam, when I'm already filled with Anandam, there is no need for me to have anything else to be fulfilled. No more desires are there in the mind of Atmajnani. So establish in a desireless state. This Atmajnani, Brahmajnani attains liberation or moksham from cycle of birth and death. Remember, Ajnani, ignorant people spend their entire life chasing different desires and die with a lot of unfulfilled desires, which form the seed for the next cycle of birth and death. Atmajnani, Brahmajnani, having been established in a desireless state, attains liberation, Namrtatvam Moksham. So, what is the message of the Upanishads? Knowledge of absolute reality of one's own true nature as Atman, not different from Brahman, bestows immortality. Now, let's see how in Sri Dakshinamurti Stotram, Acharya Shankara points out that this Ajnanam is the root cause for all the miseries of individuals, and Jnanam alone will bestow supreme bliss. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Vakratunda Mahakaji Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parambrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nidaye Sarva Vidyanam Shajefa Baroginam Gurave Sarva Lokanam Dakshinamurtaye Namaha सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतं वन्दे भगवन्तो पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवत्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः अपार करुणा सिन्धुं ज्ञानदं शान्तरूपिणं श्रीचन्द्रशेखर गुरुं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहम् Om. So I'll now chant the six key shlokas focusing on jnanam, never to be forgotten. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Shri Saraswatyai Namaha, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Hari Om. Shri Bhagavanuvacha, Teshamevanukampartham, Ahamajnanajam Tamaha, Nashayamyatmabhavasthaha, ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वता ज्योतिषामपि तज्ज्योतिः तमसः परमुच्यते ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं ज्ञानगम्यं हृदि सर्वस्य विष्ठितं न हि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते तत्स्वयं योगसंसिद्धः कालेनात्मनि विन्दति ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानम् येषां नाशितमात्मनः तेषामादित्यवज्ञानम् प्रकाशयति तत्परम् यथैधांसि समिद्धोऽग्निः भस्मसात् कुरुतेऽर्जुन ज्ञानाग्निः सर्वकर्माणि भस्मसात् कुरुते तथा यस्य सर्वे समारम्भाः कामसङ्कल्पवर्जिताः ज्ञानाग्निदग्धकर्माणं तमाहुः पण्डितं बुधाः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Now the five key verses focusing on matter principle also to be remembered always. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mame Vahe Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite Ananyascintayanto Mam ये जनाः पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम् मत्तः परतरं नान्यत् किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय मयि सर्वमिदं प्रोतं सूत्रे मणिगणा इव ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां हृद्देशेऽर्जुन तिष्ठति भ्रामयन् सर्वभूतानि यन्त्रारूढानि मायया. So, how does one overcome this Maya Prabhavam, responsible for a continuous cycle of birth and death? Only by Advaita Jnanam, which is well summarized in this beautiful Gaudapada Karika, presenting the essence of all the Upanishads. So, recollect that keywords. Prapancho yadi vidyeta nivarteta na samshayaha maya matramidam dvaitam advaitam paramarthataha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So today's Gita Shloka for contemplation. We are contemplating on key verses from the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Remember. And in the previous couple of verses, Bhagavan has mentioned his true nature, not a physical form. The physical form with a dress, with a vahana, with a abharana, etc. So, Ishvara is a principle having two aspects. What are they? Fundamental matter principle and consciousness principle. So, conscious principle, Brahma Tattvam plus Maya Tattvam is equal to Ishvara. And so, everything in the world, all objects in the world are also a combination of this consciousness principle and matter principle, or existence principle and matter principle. So, Bhagavan now wants to convey the message that not only his true nature is Brahman plus Maya, matter principle plus conscious principle, that Ishvara alone is the fundamental source for everything in the world, because the objects in the world, including all the Jiva Rashis, are also a combination of matter and consciousness. So look at this verse carefully. Verse number 6, 7th chapter, Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Bhagavad Gita 7.6. Shri Bhagavanubhacha etad yonini bhutani sarvani tyupadharaya aham kritsnasya jagataha prabhavah pralayasthatha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So now Bhagavan is conveying a key message, and so he says, Upadharaya iti. Upadharaya means what? Clearly understand, ascertain yourself very clearly that Sarvani Bhutani. So all the things and all the beings. So remember, for matter principles, existence is borrowed from Brahman. For living beings, the consciousness is a manifestation of Ishvara Tattvam, that is Chaitanya Tattvam. So, Sarvani Bhutani, all things and beings, Etad Yonini. So, in the previous two verses, Bhagavan pointed out that his true nature is Para Prakriti plus Apara Prakriti. And so, here, Etad Yonini means what? That all these things and beings, Sarvani Bhutani, have these two Prakritis, Para and Apara Prakriti, as their material cause. So, Yonini means the cause, material cause. What are they? Etat, these two. Only the combination of Para Prakriti plus Apara Prakriti manifests as different beings and different things. And so Bhagavan says that Aham Prabhavaha. Therefore, why therefore? Nature of Ishvara being Apara Prakriti plus Para Prakriti. Bhagavan says Aham Prabhavaha. I am the source. Prabhavaha means what? Source. I am the source. I am the cause for the creation of all beings, as well as what? Tatha Pralayaha, as well as the ground for dissolution. So, all matter principles finally get resolved into fundamental matter. Remember, from whichever cause something arises, on final dissolution or resolution, that should get resolved into the same fundamental matter. For example, when pot is created from mud or clay, and the pot gets destroyed, the name and form gets destroyed, where does the matter get resolved? Into clay or mud again. So whichever is the source, material cause for any entity, the same principle is what into which the manifested matter, that is called karyam. The effect gets resolved in the cause. Write down. Effect always get resolved in the cause. So tatha pralayaha. Therefore, I am alone the ground for dissolution, fundamental substratum for dissolution. So the entire universe, all matter principles, as well as all the jiva rashis, arise from Brahman, sustained by Brahman, the Ishvara Tattvam, and finally get resolved. That's what it keeps on saying. Get resolved into fundamental matter, which is the cause for everything. And is it that some things will be an exception? Bhagavan says, no. Kritsnasya jagataha, of this entire universe. Kritsnam means entire, complete. Kritsnasya jagataha, of this entire universe. I am the source. That means what? The cause as well as the principle for dissolution. Also add sustenance principle as existence principle. So, Srishti, Sthiti, Layam, all are happening only because of the supreme reality, Brahma Tattvam, Ishvara Tattvam. Yato va imani bhuta nijayante, e najata nijivanti, yat prayanti abhisamvishanti, tad vijijñasasva, tad brahmeti. So, connect this shloka with the Taittiriya Upanishad mantra, which points to Brahman being the fundamental substratum for creation, sustenance, dissolution. So let's Once again, chant this verse, understand the meaning correctly. Shri Bhagavanuvāca etadhyonini bhutani sarvani tyupadharaya aham krishnasya jagataha prabhavah pralayasthatha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now let's begin our session on Sri Dakshinamurti Stotram, chanting all the dhyana shlokas and the verses we have learned till now. While chanting this, see if you can recollect the meanings which we have dealt in great detail. Om Maunam Vyakhya Prakadita Para Brahma Tattvam Yuvanam Varshishthante Vasadrishiganaihi Avrutam Brahmanishthaihi Acharyendram Karakalita Mudramanandamurtim Swatmaramam Ujita Badanam Dakshinamurti Mide Om Vata Samipe Bhumi Bhage Nishannam Sakala Muni Jananam Jnanadatara Tribhuvana Gurumisham Dakshinamurti Devam Janana Marana Dukha Cheda Daksham Namami Chitram Batataror Mule Vruddha Shishya Gurur Yuva Gurostu Maunam Vyakhyanam Shishyastu Chinna Samshayah Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaika Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Nithaye Sarva Vidyanam Vishaje Bhavaroginam Gurave Sarvalokanam Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Chidghanaya Maheshaya Vatamula Nivasine Satchidananda Rupaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om. Understand now the first few verses you already learned. Om Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantargatam Pashyannatmani Mayaya Bahiribodbhutam Yatha Nidraya Yasakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye Swatmanamevadvayam Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye Bijasyantarivankuro Jagadidam Prang Nirvikalpam Punaha Maya Kalpita Desha Kala Kalana Vaichitra Chitrikritam Maya Viva Vijrumbhayatyapi Maha Yogi Vayasvechaya Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye Yasyaiva Sphuranam Sadatmakamasat Kalparthagam Bhasate Sakshat Tattvamasiti Veda Vachasa Yo Bodhayatyashritan Yat Sakshat Karanat Bhavenna Punaravrittir Bhavambo Nidhau Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye Nana Chidraghatodara Stita Mahadipa Prabhavaswaram Jnanam Yasya Tu Chakshuradhikaranadvara Bahispandate Janamiti Tameva Bhantam Anubhatyetat Samastam Jagat Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye Deham Pranamapindriyan Epichalan Buddhincha Shunyam Viduhu Stri Balandha Jadopamasthamiti Bhranta Bhisham Vadinaha Maya Shakti Vilasa Kalpitamaha Vyamoha Samharine Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye Rahungrastha Divakarendu Sadrusho Maya Samachhadanat Sanmatrah Karanopasamharanatah Yo Bhutsu Shuktah Puman Pragasvapsamiti Prabodha Samaye Yah Pratyabhignayate Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye बाल्यादिष्वपि जाग्रदादिषु तथा सर्वास्वस्थास्वपि व्यामृतास्वनुवर्तमानमहमित्यन्तः स्फुरन्तं सदा स्वात्मानं प्रकटीकरोति भजतां यो मुद्रया भद्रया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये विश्वं पश्यति कार्यकारणतया स्वस्वामि सम्बन्धतः शिष्याचार्यतया तथैव पितृपुत्राध्यात्मना भेदतः स्वप्ने जागृति वाजयेष पुरुषः माया परिभ्रामितः तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ओम शांति 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 Ardham Swagatam, hearty welcome to the next session on understand the meanings of what's of Dakshinamurthi Stotram. As we've been seeing, chanting will become relatively easy after practice. Meanings are quite deep, and so one has to investigate carefully all the key padas, understand the meanings correctly. We are in the verse number 8, Vishwam Pashyati Karya Karanataya. What is the central message of this verse? Central message is what happens to a person who doesn't get this knowledge, who is steeped in ajnanam, avidya. What are the problems? What are the challenges the person faces? So, what we learned in the last session was that this individual, in essentiality, being the pure Atma Tattvam, absolute I, independent of any of the superimpositions, independent of any of the upadhis, because of avidya, ajnanam, owns up to the physical body, mind, sense organs, thoughts, and once this ajnani, steeped in avidya, connects oneself to the mind, through the mind, connection happens to so many things. So once that avidya is there, the root, fundamental seed, through which relationships, connection happen, different things, and that chain continues, goes on and on. And so Acharya Shankara wants to point out the different kinds of acquisition of connections, relationships, which further take the person into deep ignorance. What are they? So the absolute I, which is called Turiya Atma. Remember the Mandukya Upanishad interpretation of Atma Tattvam. What are the three states in which the person goes through? Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. And during each of these states, the individual, because of Ajnanam, attaches oneself to the understanding of one's own true nature of being connected with the external world. So during waking state, the individual becomes what is called as Abhishwa. Vishwa means what? Same Atma Tattva, because of ignorance, has been understood as being connected to the world. Vishwam Pashyati, sees the world, and so starts saying, I am the seer, and I am the waker, I am the dreamer, and all the impressions that happen during all this waking dream state, person gets attached. And so, Vishwa, then during dream, Taijasa. During deep sleep, the same Atman is called as Prajnatma. Whereas a person who has attained this Jnanam, ever established Jnanam, person is said to be established in Turiya Atma Tattvam. Remember, Atman is only one. Atman is not four. The different aspects of Atman, depending on ignorance, is Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna. Actually, it is Turiya Tattvam, the fourth state. And that is the true nature of Atman. So, because of ignorance from Turiya Atma, the person becomes Vishwatma during waking state, falls down as if, okay. And because of which one becomes the empirical I. I talked about empirical I. Empirical I means the functional I. Remember, Atma is akarta abhokta, neither the doer nor the enjoyer. Whereas what happens? Because of ignorance, wrong understanding, superimposing oneself with the physical body and the mind, this ignorant person starts thinking, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. And so the independent Sakshi Cheta Kevalo Nirgunashta Tattvam becomes what? A relative I. The absolute I becomes relative I. Relationship oriented I becomes relative I. So absolute reality has become now relative reality. And so once person starts connecting with the physical body, then through that, through eye and mind to everything, person goes through happiness and sorrow. Yes or no? All of us go through happiness and sorrow. And so person starts thinking that I am a what? Punyavan. If I am extremely happy, if I am what? Subject to sorrow, I am a papishtaha. So at least the person knows that punyam is equal to sukham, papam is equal to dukkham. So punya papam, affected by punya papam, is the first what? Result of dharmic understanding of one's connection with the physical body and all the things happening in the world with respect to the individual. And then the person now starts about cause and effect. Because of this, this happened. Whereas Atman is causeless. Cause. Remember, that principle which has no cause, causeless cause, that is our true nature, but connected to the matter principle, cause and effect. Because of this, this happened. And then, and so for an individual, we start connecting to our prarabdha karma, sanchita karma, agami karma, and all those. And all these, we say, are the result of our previous actions. And so our experiences are based on all these karmas. Gaudapada calls it in Mandukya Karika as Hetu Phala Sambandha. Write down. What Acharya says, Karya Karana Sambandham, cause and effect relationship, is Hetu Phalam. Hetu means what? Because of this principle, Phalam, one expects or one attains this result. Hetu Phala Sambandham. So this absolute I in an essentiality, Satchidananda Swarupam, becomes a miserable I, subject to happiness, sorrow during this life, and after this life continues samsara chakram, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, goes on and on. And all these because of what? Maya. Means what? Ignorance. That's why the word Maya paribhramitaha in this verse is extremely important. So what are the different broad categories of relationships that forms in the mind of an Ajnani? Write down these four. One, Karya Karana Sambandham. So, with respect to all the results that are happening, whatever results of their actions happen to the individual in the world, with respect to the action result, first one is Karya Karana Sambandham. Means what? Cause and effect relationship. That is the first connection of the individual. Though absolute I, because of ignorance, connects oneself to Karya Karana Sambandham. Next is for all the material possessions. Because when I comes, mind comes together. Ahankaram, Mamakaram comes together. For all the material possessions, including matter, and also sometimes you own up to certain people who work for you. Swaswami Sambandham. Swa means I, Swami, I am the owner. I am the master of things. Second, Sambandham. So, these are all Sambandham relationships. As I told you, the absolute I has become relative I. First is Karyakarana Sambandham. Second is Swaswami Sambandham. Then, with respect to acquisition of knowledge, learning something, Guru Shishya Sambandham. So, I am a Shishya, he is a Guru, this person is a Guru, and so Guru Shishya Sambandham are all relative, they are not absolute. Remember this. And with respect to the physical body, Pita Putra Sambandham. So, for example, person is a male, then father-son relationship with respect to physical body. Does Atma have a physical body? Atma is pure consciousness principle, existence principle, no connection with matter principle. Physical body is matter. So owning up to the matter, physical body, material physical body, relationship is what? Pitru Putra Sambandham. Then, with respect to the mind of the individual, so the person thinks, I am the waker during waking state. During dream, the dreamer thinks the dream is true. I am the dreamer. Only on waking back again, you think dream is false. But Jagrat and Swapna Avastha, that also is a connection. The individual thinks that I am the waker, I am the dreamer. All these are happening only because of what? Influence of Maya. And what does Maya do? Avarana Shakti. Means what? Conceals the supreme reality, not knowing my true nature. I am having all these relationships. And once your relationships, will they be always constant? You all seen, right? All relationships, there are ups and downs. And many people spend their entire life managing relationships. Manisha Panchakam Acharya said, don't waste your time. Bhajagovindam Acharya said, don't waste your time in managing all these relationships. They will be the way they are. As long as possible, you do what is required, but don't bother too much. But unfortunately, what happens? People spend their entire life also managing relationships. And because of this sambandham, ignorance further and further grows. And more misery and sorrow. Though this is a state of an ajnani, what is the essential nature of that individual? Purushaha, Satchidananda Swarupam, which is Sakshat Param Brahma Tattvam, which is Sakshat or Dakshinamurthi Param Brahma Tattvam. So essentially, every jiva, though being ignorant, is actually Param Brahma, Purusha, Sakshat, what? Dakshinamurti Swarupam himself. Because of ignorance, all this happening. So the essential nature of the individual being Purushaha, which is Dakshinamurti. To that Dakshinamurti, who is the essence of everybody, my Namaskaram. So Acharya Shankara wants to convey that this essential nature of every individual is Purushaha, Atman, which is not different from Brahman, not different from Dakshinamurti. To that Dakshinamurti, my prostration. So with this background, if you then analyze this verse, you'll be able to understand very clearly. Now look at the Pada Vibhaga and Anmaya. Vishwam Pashyati Karya Karanataya Swaswami Sambandhataha. So Anmaya Pashyati Vishwam. So during waking state, Vishwam is what? Vishwatma, waking state, Pashyati, the individual, because of ignorance, is starting to see means what? Have this viewpoint. 1, 2, 3, 4. Write down. First one is Karya Karana Sambandham. Karya Karanataya. Because of ignorance, cause and effect takes over the individual. That supreme principle, which is Nantah Prajnam Nabahish Prajnam No Bhayatah Prajnam Prajnana Ghanam. So, that true nature, which is totally unconnected with any cause and effect, beyond Karya Karana Sambandham, because of ignorance, the person starts connecting with cause and effect. Because of this, this happened. At least if one is able to attach one's own actions to one's own results, there is a path to what? Redemption. But what do people normally do? This person is responsible for this, for my unhappiness. This person. So blame everybody, entire world, all the things for one's own unhappiness or sorrow. But understand who is the cause of one's problem. I am the source of my problem. And I only have to find the solution. What is the solution? Only through jnanam, knowledge. Remember this, avidya, adhyasam is the root cause of all the miseries. Acharya Shankara says in Adhyasa Bhashyam, evam ayam anadi anantaha, naisargiko adhyasaha, mithya pratyaya rupaha, kartrutva bhoktrutva pravartakaha. Means what? Do we enjoy relationship with respect to individual? So, where is it? Sarvaloka pratyakshaha. It's there in all the worlds. So, asya anartha hetoho. So, This adhyasam is the root cause for all the miseries. Anartha means what? Misery, sorrow, problems. So, prahanaya atmikattva vidya pratipattaye sarve vedantaha arabhyante. So, what is the final goal of all the Vedantas? Why have they started? The journey has been started with the Vedanta Shastras to remove this ignorance. But because of ignorance, Karya Karana Sambandham, cause and effect relationship. Next, Swaswami Sambandham. So, with respect to different material things that one owns. So, if you buy a car, what will you say? I am the owner of this car. I am the owner of this mobile. Right? There arises Swaswami Sambandham. I am the owner of this. I am the master of this. And this is called in Bhagavad Gita Yoga Kshemam. Yoga is what? Acquisition of things. Kshemam is maintenance, protection of things. So entire life the person goes on focusing on Yoga Kshema, Yoga Kshema. So Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Ye Janaha Paryupasate Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yoga Kshemam Maham. I will take care of Yoga Kshemam. If you get this knowledge, Na Anyaha, if you understand that my true nature is not different from Bhagavan, I will take care of Yoga Kshema. Not knowing that, people go on acquiring things, owning things. And remember, you all should have experienced acquiring things is easier, maintenance is extremely difficult. Kshemam, yes or no? So you call maintenance nightmare. So, Yoga Kshema is Swaswami Sambandha. Similarly, people, I am the master of this person works for me. That's Swami Sambandhataha. Happens because of identification with the physical body, matter principle. Does Atma have Swami Sambandhataha? No. So, what is the Sambandham? Karya Karana Sambandham and Swami Sambandham number 2. Then, third, Shishya Acharya Taya. So, with respect to acquisition of knowledge, there is a sambandham or relationship of disciple and teacher. It's a good thing. Have bhakti towards teacher, and that relationship may be good, but it is happening only because of admiration of the physical body. Shishya acharya taya sambandha. Then tatha eva pitra putra adhyatmana. Adhyatmana means with respect to one's individual physical body, relationship, sambandham, that I am this person's son, this person's daughter. So these are my parents, father, mother. And so that relationship also arises because of individual body. Remember, for transactional purpose, it is okay. For relative purpose, it is okay. But never ever forget the absolute nature of oneself, that is Atman, which has no relationships. So, bhedataha, all is a differentiation. And only if there is a difference, there can be relationship. Everything is only one. Can there be any connection relationship? There can never be any connection relationship. So, bhedataha means all the differences are formed. And swapne jagrati. Swapne va jagrati va. Both during dream state and the waking state. Yaha eshaha purushaha. This. So, this person who in essentiality is purushaha. Yaha, that principle, eshaha. This person essentially purushaha, satchidananda swarup matma tattvam. Both during waking and dream state, jagrati va, swapne va, maya paribhramitaha. Is it not true? During waking state, the entire world is so enticing, it engulfs us. So, maya paribhramitaha. Means what? Maya pari means parisamanta, completely. Bhramitaha. I told you bhramitaha means what? Illusion. Illusion, the world is real. The world is source of joy. The word bhramitaha is from bhrama. Brahman means what? Illusion, delusion. So, maya paribhramitaha, tapneva jagrativa. Though because of Maya Prabhavam, the individual, both during waking state and dream state, is engulfed in ignorance. Yaha eshaha purushaha eva. Though the person may be steeped in ignorance, essentially that person is Purushaha. So you saw in the last mantra of Kathopanishad, Purushaha. Purushaha is what? Atma Tattvam. Purushontaraatma. Remember. So Purushaha. It's not Purishete. That principle. Satchidananda Swarupam, Atman that is present within the physical body, the nine-gated city, Navadvare Pure Dehi. Sarvam Purati iti Purushaha. So that Atma Tattvam is the essential nature of even an ignorant person. Maya Paribhramitaha api Swapneva Jagrativa Eshaha Purushaha Eva. That's how you should understand. And so this Atman is not different from what? Sakshat Satchidananda Swarupam Dakshinamurthi. So to that Dakshinamurti, my namaskaram, who appears as a guru in front of me and teaching me Advaita Jnanam to relieve me of all this ignorance. And finally, get rid of all these sambandhas at a paramarthika level, absolute knowledge. So there are two aspects. So for an Advaita Jnani, for understanding Advaita Tattvam, is a very important principle. What is that? Knowledge of absolute reality and relative reality. Paramarthika Satyam and Vyavaharika Satyam. For Vyavaharam, for all transactions is all fine. But don't carry it over to Paramartham, absolute state. Similarly, don't carry the absolute reality to Vyavaharam. Don't bring oneness of everything into Vyavaharam. For Vyavaharam, write down, follow Dharma Shastram. So, this is punyam, this is papam, this is right, this is wrong, this is different, there are differences. And law of dharma to be respected and followed for transaction. But for clear understanding, there is only one absolute reality, Brahmaiva Satyam. So, Brahma Satyam, again, Mithya is absolute reality, Vyavaharam is Dharma Shastram. So, that should be clear. So, that knowledge is bestowed to us by our Guru who is present in front of us. Sakshat Dakshinamurti Swarupam. To that Guru, my prostration, namaskaram. So let's stand this verse and go to the next verse. Vishwam Pashyati Karya Karanataya Swaswami Sambandhataha Shishyacharya Tathaiva Pitraputradhyatmana Bhedataha Swapne Jagrati Vayayesha Purushaha Maya Paribhramitaha Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now the next verse we'll just chant, learn the chanting. We'll look at the meaning next session. Having established Advaita Jnanam and also pointed out ignorance as the root cause for all the miseries, starting with the relationship, Acharya Shankara has concluded the teaching. Now, for the purpose of Dhyanam, Nidhyasanam, same Dakshinamurti is being meditated upon as Ashtamurti, 8 forms. Remember also Gita Shloka, Prakritihi Ashtadha, with slight variation. Ashtamurti, Dakshinamurti is being described in verse number 9 for Dhyanam. I'll chant it once. Okay, we'll chant and then we'll take the meaning in the next session. Bhurambhamsya nalo nilom paramahar himam shupuman.
Bhurambhasya nalo nilom paramahar himam shupuman.
So Bhurambhamsya nalo nilom param. You can stop there if you want. Huh?
Bhurambhamsya nalo nilom param. Bhurambhamsya nalo nilom param.
Nalo nilom param. Okay. Aharnatho himam shupuman.
Aharnatho himam shupuman. Aharnatho himam shupuman.
या भाति चराचरात्मकमिदम्
इत्याभाति चराचरात्मकमिदम् इत्याभाति चराचरात्मकमिदम्
यस्यैव मूर्त्यष्टकम्
यस्यैव मूर्त्यष्टकम् यस्यैव मूर्त्यष्टकम्
नान्यत् किञ्चन विद्यते विमृशताम्
नान्यत्किञ्चन विद्यते विमृशताम् नान्यत्किञ्चन विद्यते विमृशताम्
यस्मात् परस्माद् विभोः
यस्मात् परस्माद् विभोः यस्मात् परस्माद् विभोः
विभो तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये
तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये.
Very good, excellent chanting. So let's try and chant this couple of times in this session. भूरम्भांस्य नलो निलोम्बरमहर्नाथो हिमांशुः पुमान् इत्याभाति चराचरात्मकमिदं यस्यैव मूर्त्यष्टकम् नान्यत् किञ्चन विद्यते विमृशतां यस्मात् परस्मात् विभोः तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये. Chant again. ओम भूरम्भांस्य नलो निलोम्बरमहर्नाथो हिमांशुः पुमान् इत्याभाति चराचरात्मकमिदं यस्यैव मूर्त्यष्टकम् नान्यत् किञ्चन विद्यते विमृशतां यस्मात् परस्मात् विभोः तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये. ओम शांति शांति शांति. ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ओम शांति शांति शांति. हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम तत्सत्. कृष्ण 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 कृष्ण. शुभमस्तु. समस्त सन्मंगलानि भवन्तु. हरि ओम. Meet again next Thursday morning. Continuation of the Kathopanishad. Narayana Narayana.